Trapped in a world of darkness, a blind elephant, dog, and cow faced brutal pasts. What drove their incredible rescues, and what hidden truths will their journeys reveal? Dive into their emotional tales to uncover the mysteries of their survival and the love that transformed them. Let's dive right in.
Sit. Fix it. Fix it.
I never thought I'd fall for a blind puppy, but life has a way of surprising you. It all started when a rescue group called me about Levi, a tiny bully breed puppy who couldn't see and needed a foster home. I wasn't sure I was up for it. Bully breeds weren't my thing, and those cropped ears made him look tougher than I could handle. But my heart broke imagining him alone in a shelter, so I said yes, promising myself it'd just be for 2 weeks. I headed to Walmart, grabbed a laundry basket for him to sleep in, and picked up some basics. When I met Levi, he was so small, trembling in my arms, his cloudy eyes searching for something he'd never see. I felt a pang of fear. Could I really help a blind dog? But his tiny tail wagged when I spoke, so I brought him home, determined to make him feel safe. Those first days were tough. Levi bumped into walls, his little head drooping each time he misjudged a corner. It was heartbreaking to watch him stumble, but I couldn't let him give up, so I turned into a helicopter parent, guiding him around furniture. I even bought a hula hoop harness to help him learn the layout of my house. He'd hit a wall, pause, then try again, his tail wagging like he was proud of himself. His grit amazed me, but I worried he'd always feel lost in a world he couldn't see. So I spent hours sitting with him, letting him curl up in my lap. Levi started to settle in, finding joy in the simplest things. He'd sprawl out in the backyard, soaking up the sun like it was his personal heater. The sound of running water made his ears perk up, and he'd nuzzle into soft blankets like they were his safe haven. I thought fostering would be easy, temporary. But Levi was stealing my heart, so I admitted I was a foster fail. I adopted him, vowing to give him the best life I could. I wanted Levi to have friends, so I took him to doggy daycare. But his blindness made him defensive, and he snapped at other dogs, his hackles raised. It crushed me to see him struggle, so I pulled him out, thinking he'd be an only dog forever. Levi seemed content, sunbathing all day while waiting for me to come home, but I couldn't shake the feeling he was lonely, so I kept searching for ways to make his world bigger. Then the rescue called again about Jax, another blind bully puppy needing a home. My first instinct was to say no. Levi had never even met a puppy, and 2 blind dogs sounded like chaos. But I pictured Levi's quiet days, his world so small without me, so I agreed to meet Jax, hoping Levi might surprise me. When Jax arrived, he was even tinier than Levi, his wobbly steps mirroring Levi's early days. I was terrified they'd clash, so I started slow, letting them sniff each other through a crack under the door. Levi's nose twitched, curious but cautious. I held my breath, but they didn't growl, so I moved to the next step, holding Jax while Levi sniffed him up close. Levi's tail gave a hesitant wag, and I felt a spark of hope. Over the next few weeks, I introduced them carefully, always on leashes, watching for any sign of trouble. Levi could have been rough. He was bigger after all. But he was gentle, almost like he sensed Jax's vulnerability. They started playing, tumbling over each other in the grass, their clumsy moves making me laugh. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes Levi got frustrated when Jax followed too closely, but Jax's persistence won him over, so they became a team, racing around the yard like they'd known each other forever. Watching them together was like seeing a miracle unfold. Levi, who'd once been so guarded, became Jax's guide. When Levi drank from the water bowl, Jax would hear the lapping and shuffle over, finding it by sound. Levi's collar jingled as he moved, and Jax would follow, his little nose glued to Levi's trail. One day, Levi nudged Jax through the doggy door, and I nearly cried as Jax wobbled out to the yard, tail wagging like he'd conquered the world. But it wasn't always smooth. Jax would sometimes lose Levi's sound and whimper, confused. So I'd guide him back, my heart swelling at how they leaned on each other. Levi's confidence grew with Jax around. He'd always loved sunbathing, but now he'd wait for Jax to join him, the two of them sprawled out like they owned the yard. At night, they'd curl up together, Levi's steady breathing calming Jax's restless twitches. I'd watch them, amazed at how two dogs who couldn't see had found their way to each other. But I still worried. Would their blindness hold them back? So I kept working with them, teaching them new routines, celebrating every small victory. One evening, as they played, Levi tripped over a toy and froze, his ears pinned back. I thought he'd give up, but Jax nudged him, yipping like he was saying, "Come on, you got this." Levi shook it off and chased Jax again, their laughter like barks filling the air. That moment hit me hard. Levi wasn't just surviving, he was thriving, and Jax was a big part of that. I'd been so scared to take them on, but they'd shown me what love and resilience could do. Looking back, I realized Levi and Jax changed me as much as I changed them. I was hesitant at first, scared of the responsibility, but their trust in me pushed me to be better. Special needs dogs like them get overlooked in shelters. People see their challenges and walk away. But I've learned that when you work through those challenges, you get the most loyal, loving companions you could ever ask for. Levi and Jax aren't just pets, they're my family, my teachers, my heart. I think about where they started, Levi abandoned, waiting in a shelter, and Jax facing the same fate. It could have ended there, but I said yes, and now my days are filled with their goofy antics and quiet moments of trust. Sometimes I catch Levi tilting his head, like he's listening to the world in his own way, and Jax will mimic him. Their bond so clear, it makes my chest ache. I don't know what my life would be without them, but I'm so grateful I don't have to find out. Hi, Helen. Dairy cows have one sole mission in life, to produce milk. But with Helen, it's different. She's a blind cow who spent 19 years in a world of darkness and walls, and her story grabbed my heart, showing me what freedom and love can do. I'm still amazed by how she changed me just as much as I hope we changed her. I first heard about Helen from a farmer who couldn't bear to let her go. She was born blind on his dairy farm, where cows are expected to give milk or face a grim end when they can't. But Helen was special. The farmer saw it in her gentle spirit, her quiet resilience. He kept her long after she stopped producing, caring for her like family, but he knew she deserved more than a stable's confines. So he searched for a new home, and that's where I came in. 5 months ago, we welcomed Helen to Uncle Neil's place. I was nervous but excited. I'd never cared for a blind cow before, and learning she'd spent her entire life in a stable, no grass, no sun, no other cows, hit me hard. Her world was 4 walls and silence. But I was determined to give her something better. We set up a special spot for her, a cozy room with soft bedding and a sunshade to keep her comfortable. I wanted her to feel safe, but also to know there was more out there. Helen was shy at first, hesitant to step beyond her familiar darkness. So, we took it slow, talking to her daily in gentle voices, letting her get used to us. We even set up a camera to watch her without crowding her space. To help her navigate, we got creative. We installed a solar-powered fountain, its gurgling a constant guide to water. We hung wind bells across the pasture, their soft chimes like a map to lead her home. And by the entrance, we placed a big brush for her to rub against, a treat that quickly became her favorite ritual. I'd laugh watching her lean into it, her whole body swaying with contentment. At first, Helen stuck to her room, unsure of the world beyond, but little by little, she started to explore. I'd see her step cautiously into the pasture, ears twitching at the sound of birds or the rustle of wind. It was like she was waking up, discovering life for the first time. So, we kept encouraging her, playing soft music and talking to her, hoping she'd feel safe enough to keep going. One day, something incredible happened. I was in the pasture with my partner when Helen walked right up to him. She tilted her head, then pressed her whole body against him, nuzzling and licking like she was pouring out her heart. My eyes welled up. It was her way of saying, "I trust you. I'm happy." I'd never seen anything like it. A blind cow after years of loneliness, showing love so openly. But it wasn't just a moment. It was a turning point. From then on, Helen blossomed. She started spending all day outside, wandering the pastures, meeting other cows, and giving them her signature licks. I swear she kisses everyone she meets, like she's making up for all the years she spent alone. It's the sweetest thing, but it also breaks my heart a little, thinking of how much she missed out on. One of my favorite things is watching Helen listen to music. We found this Hawaiian version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow that she loves. When we play it, she lifts her head, freezes, and soaks it in. Her ears twitch in the breeze, the wind bells chime softly, and I swear she's smiling. It's like the music speaks to her soul, telling her she's finally where she belongs. So we play it often, letting her bask in those moments of joy. Caring for Helen hasn't always been easy. Her blindness means we have to think carefully about her space, ensuring she can move safely. Sometimes I worry we're not doing enough, but then I see her trotting through the pasture or nuzzling another cow, and I know she's thriving. She's taught me so much about resilience, about finding happiness even after years of hardship. I thought I was saving her, but in a way, she's saved me too. Helen's life now is full of little joys, grazing in the sun, listening to the fountain, rubbing against her brush. She doesn't have everything, but she has love, and that's what matters. I watch her roam freely, her steps more confident each day, and I'm reminded that love doesn't need conditions or demands. It's just there, steady and warm, like the sun on her back. Looking back, I'm so grateful we took a chance on Helen. She's changed us, showing us what it means to care deeply and give without expecting anything in return. I used to think a cow's life was simple, but Helen's shown me it's anything but. Her heart is huge,
Hi,
her
Helen.
spirit unstoppable, and her story is one I'll carry forever. I still tear up thinking about that moment in the pasture, when she trusted us enough to show her love. It's a reminder that even in a world that can feel cold, there's room for kindness, for second chances. Helen's living her best life now, and I'm honored to be part of it. So, here's to her, my brave, beautiful cow who found her way out of the dark and into a world of bells, music, and love. I'm standing in the dusty heat of Thailand, my heart heavy as I watch Jokia, a 54-year-old elephant, shuffle toward me. Her eyes are clouded, useless. She's blind, and it's not just age that stole her sight. Back in the logging industry, Jokia suffered a miscarriage, a loss that broke her spirit, and the owner's cruelty left her eyes damaged beyond repair. My name's Black Tyler, and I founded the Save Elephant Foundation to give elephants like Jokia a second chance. This is her story, and it's carved itself into my heart. When Jokia first arrived at our sanctuary, she was a wreck. I could see it in her tense stance, her ears twitching at every sound. She wouldn't let any woman near her, and I didn't blame her. The logging camp owners had hurt her bad, beating her, overworking her, causing that miscarriage, and blinding her. I wanted to wrap my arms around her massive frame and tell her it'd be okay, but trust was a long way off. So I gave her space, letting her feel the quiet safety of the sanctuary. But then came Lake, a tiny elephant calf, and everything changed. Lake and her mother were rescued from one of those cruel elephant riding camps. The mother was skin and bones, her ribs sharp under her gray hide, always hungry and exhausted. Jokia, though, took one sniff of Lake and decided that the calf was hers. She wouldn't let Lake out of her reach, nudging her close with her trunk, keeping her tucked against her side. It was like Jokia found her purpose again, like that miscarriage hadn't stolen her chance to be a mom after all. So, Lake became her baby, and Jokia's world lit up. I watched them for weeks, marveling at how Jokia transformed. She'd been so guarded, so wounded, but with Lake, she was alive again. Lake's mother was thrilled, too. She'd been through hell, but now she had Jokia to share the load. It was like they were a little family, piecing themselves back together. Lake's mother started to fill out, her eyes brighter, her steps lighter. She'd splash in the river, kicking up mud like a playful teenager, knowing Jokia had her baby covered. But it wasn't always easy. Jokia was so protective she'd trumpet if Lake wandered too far, her trunk sweeping the air to find her. It broke my heart to see her panic, but it showed how deep her love ran. Every day I'd walk out to their enclosure, watching Jokia guide Lake through the grass. At night, Jokia would stand over Lake, letting the calf sleep curled under her massive feet. She'd touch Lake gently with her trunk, checking she was still there. That gave Lake's mother, Molo, a chance to rest. Molo could finally lie down, her body relaxing for the first time in who knows how long. But sometimes Molo would stand guard too, and Jokia would collapse into the dirt for a nap. I'd sit there, cross-legged in the grass, watching this trio, Jokia, Lake, and Molo, build a family out of their shared pain. It felt like a miracle, but it reminded me how much they'd all lost to get here. Jokia's gentleness floored me. She'd been through so much cruelty, yet she poured all her softness into Lake. I'd see her nudge Lake toward the mud pits, encouraging her to play, her trunk hovering like a worried mom. But there were moments when Jokia's past crept in. A loud noise, a sudden movement, and she'd freeze, her ears flapping, ready to shield Lake from danger that wasn't there. It killed me to see her so haunted, but I'd talk to her, my voice low and steady. "You're safe now, Jokia," I'd say. "You're home." I started spending more time with her, hoping she'd sense I was different from the people who'd hurt her. I'd bring her favorite treats, watermelons, bananas, and lay them near her feet. She'd sniff them out, her trunk curling around the fruit with delicate precision that made me laugh. "You're a pro, Jokia," I'd tell her, and I swear she'd tilt her head like she understood. But trust was still a battle. She'd let me close, but only so far. If I moved too fast, she'd step back, her trunk raised like a warning. So I kept at it, slow and patient, showing her I wasn't going anywhere. One day I saw Jokia and Lake playing in the river. Lake was splashing like a goof, spraying water everywhere, and Jokia was right there, her trunk dipping into the cool water to splash Lake back. Molo was off to the side, rolling in the mud, her body caked in it like a kid's art project. I laughed out loud, and for a second, I thought Jokia heard me. She turned her head my way, her ears flapping, and I felt a connection, like she was starting to see me as a friend. But then Lake bumped into her, and Jokia's focus snapped back to her baby. I didn't mind. That moment was enough. As months passed, Jokia's guard came down, bit by bit. She'd let me stand closer, my hand brushing her rough skin as I murmured to her. "Mommy loves you," I'd say, half to Jokia, half to Lake. It became our thing, those words. I wanted Jokia to know she wasn't alone anymore, that she had a family, not just Lake and Molo, but me too. But some days, I'd catch her standing still, her trunk swaying like she was lost in memories of the logging camp. It had hit me hard knowing I couldn't erase that pain. So I'd sit with her, letting the silence say what words couldn't. Their little family grew stronger every day. Lake would toddle around, exploring, but always circling back to Jokia's side. Molo started to look healthy, her frame filling out, her energy infectious. They'd play together, the three of them, kicking up dust or splashing in the river. I'd watch, grinning like an idiot, because this was what I'd dreamed of when I started the sanctuary, a place where elephants could heal, where they could be elephants again. But it wasn't perfect. Jokia's blindness meant she'd sometimes stumble, and I'd hold my breath, praying she wouldn't fall. So we built ramps and cleared paths to make it easier for her to move. One evening, as the sun dipped low, I sat near Jokia's enclosure. She was standing over Lake, who was snoring softly under her feet. Molo was sprawled out nearby, her breaths deep and even. I felt an ache in my chest, a mix of joy and sorrow. Jokia had lost so much, her sight, her baby, her trust. But she'd found Lake and Molo, and maybe a piece of herself. I whispered, "You're doing great, Jokia," and her trunk twitched, like she heard me. For the first time, I felt like she might believe I was her friend. I keep going back to her day after day, because Jokia's story isn't just about surviving, it's about finding love after loss. She's taught me what resilience looks like, what it means to rebuild when the world's torn you apart. And every time I see her with Lake or watch Molo play without fear, I'm reminded why I do this. They're not just elephants, they're family. Thank you for watching. If you like the story, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. See you in the next video.